Welcome to the part 2 of working with variables in Figma. So in this part, we are going to be looking at creating and managing variables. So join me and let's dive in. So in order to get started, I'm going to be using a color system from Lena UI design system. And also, I already designed a card, and with this card, I used components and also color system from the Rena UI design system. You guys should check it out. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start creating our variables, right? And the reason why I'm showing on this card is after creating variables, we are going to be applying it to this card that I've just designed. As you can see, there are no color variables, there are no variables linked to this color, they are just individual raw value, right? That have not been set as either variables or style. So let's get in. So the first thing we want to do in creating our variables is to locate where they are, right? If you want to locate where your variables are, you need to click anywhere on the artboard, right? So, and you come to the right side of the panel where you get to see, this, page, local variables, local styles, and exports. So what we're focusing on here is the local variables. So you click on this icon that says open variables, and you get to see this um overlay, this modal pop up, right? So this modal is where you are going to be creating all your variables. So for you to be able to create variables, like I mentioned earlier in the previous video, I said you can create 4 types of variables, which are color, number, string, and boolean. But firstly, we'll be creating our color variable, right? So the first thing you want to do is to rename this collection 1. And this collection 1 is here by default. When I open the local variables, you can see that this is what shows. So we want to click on this 3 dotted line and rename this to primitive. And basically what primitive means is like foundation, the basics, right? The foundation where your raw values are going to be stored. Then we're also going to create another collections that we're going to call design token, and that is where we are going to be using our variables from, right? So let's continue, and we get to that. Okay, now that I've changed the collection name to primitive, the next thing I want to do is to create my color variable. So now, as you can see, what I just want to do here basically is I want to replicate what we have here on this color system inside this variable. So what I'm just going to do is, this is orange, right? I'm going to say orange dash 50. So as you can see, this is 50, right? So now the next thing I want to do, I want to duplicate this, and I think we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. So I'm going to duplicate 10 more of these. So how you can duplicate is highlight, click on any of this guy, hold your shift key, and just keep pressing your enter key till you're done, right? So I think this is cool. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to now start to rename, edit the naming, 75, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, then we have 900. Okay, so now the next thing I also want to do is I need to change the value, right? So what I'm just going to do is to start from the 50. I'll click on this color, use my color picker to pick the color, then I'll do the same for the rest. As you can see, be careful you don't pick another color. Well, if you do that mistake, you can always come back to um, edit and update them. So we're at 500, this is 500, 600, 700, 800, then we have 900. So now we've been able to successfully create, our orange color. The next thing I want to do is to now group all of these guys together. So you highlight everything starting from, you I click on the first one, hold on your shift key, then click on the last um, variable, then you are able to highlight. So now what I'm going to do is, right click, and I'm going to click on this new group with selection. So here I'm now going to come here and say primary. I'm going to say color / primary. So now what I just did is I created color as the main group, and I group all of these under primary, as you can see. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to also create my grayscale as variable. So I'm just going to click on this color. Please don't do mistake and create under this color. If I click on this primary and I click on create color, you can see that it's going to add up to my primary. No, I want to create different, I want to create this grayscale as a group on its own. So what I'm going to do is just click on this color and click on create variable and click on color. So the next thing you want to do is you want to say gray 50, and also you duplicate. You do the same thing, duplicate. Then you can then come here and update them. 75, 100. So not to waste much of our time, I'm just going to skip this part. Right, I'm going to fast forward this part so we can get you to the next. So now that I'm done, updating the value also. So what I'm also going to do is to group them. So I click on the first one, scroll to the gray 900, I right click, then I create as group. Then I can come here to change the name to gray. So the next color scale I want to create is the shades, or you can call them base, right? So I want to create. We only have two base color, which are white and black. So I'm also going to click on this color and click on create color variable. Then I'm going to name this as white, and I'm going to duplicate, name this as black, then just update, right? And I'm going to highlight the two and create as group. Then I can name this my base color. So now we've successfully created our color variable, our color system or color variable under our primitive. So the next thing we now want to do is to create our spacing, right? So what I'm going to do is, also don't make that mistake of clicking on color or on highlighting color, then creating your number or your spacing variable under color. Click on this variable, click on all variables, then come to create variable, then click on number. So now what we want to do here is we want to create our number, our spacing variable. So in creating my spacing variable, I'm going to be using the 4-point system. That's what I'm going to be using. Some people love to use 8 points, but for me, I love using 4 points because it gives me, the flexibility to come lower to 4. So yeah, I'm going to start with 4, right? So I'm going to say spacing, 0, spacing 0. Then Also, duplicate them, duplicate as much as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to call this spacing 1, spacing 2, spacing 3, spacing 4, spacing 5, spacing 6, spacing 7, spacing 8, okay, spacing 9, and let's stop at 10, spacing 10. Okay, so now for the value, spacing 0 is going to be equals to 0 value. Then for 1, we change it to 4, and then we keep adding the multiples of 4 to this. 12, 16. Back in secondary school we're taught the multiplication table, so this should be easy for you. 36, then 40. All right, so now the next thing we need to do is what? We need to now group these guys together. So you can keep on creating the spacing, but for what we are doing today, I'm just going to stop at 40, because the spacing I have on this card is just 40 works perfectly for it. So now I've highlighted, right, and the next thing I want to do is to add as group. Then I'm going to name this as my spacing system. This is my color system. All right, so now we've successfully created our primitive variable, or a primitive collection. I mean, we've created our colors, and we've also created the spacing system. So now the next thing we now want to do is create another collection, like I said earlier, and this collection is going to be named design token. So you click on this three dotted line and come here and click on create collection and change this to design token, or you can call it tokens, right, for short. You can just call it tokens. Okay, so now when you click on this drop down, you can see you can toggle between these two. So yeah, what we just want to do is we want to link, when we create our variable in the token, we want to reference it back to our primitive. So the primitive here, this is the raw value, right? This is where we can now make changes, and it's going to update across everywhere we've link it in our design token. So now what we want to do now is we want to start again by creating our color, right? So you click on this, click on color, uh okay, you click on the color. Okay, it's not coming out, right? You just need to click on this all variable, and you are going to see it out here. So the first thing I want to do, so now I'm creating this I'm creating my design tokens based on the card design that I have here. Ideally, if you are working on a large project, you should be creating in a way that is going to accommodate what you're doing. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm only creating this based on this design that I have here. So yeah, I'm going to say this is background primary. So I'm going to say brand primary, which is our brand color. I'm also, let me duplicate. So yeah, I'm going to say text I. I'm going to come here, text medium, then text low. Okay. What else do I need to? Okay, I think these three are enough. The background primary. We have the brand primary here, we have the text I, which is the um, yeah, we have medium and we have low. Okay, this is what I need. So now what I'm going to do here is, under this token, is I want to reference my value. I want to reference it to the primitive variables that I've created, right? So I'm just going to come here, double click and create an alias. So I'm going to come here and create an alias. And what does alias mean? Alias mean when a variable references another variable. So, like I said, what we are doing in this token is we are referencing the variables in the primitive collection. So we're just going to create alias, and then I want to reference this background primary to the variable I've created under the primitive. So now you can see that my background here, I use pure white. So I'm just going to link it to white. Can you see? So now for my brand primary, the same thing, right? And I'm going to link it to orange 500. As you can see, for my text, I, you can actually, link or create your alias in two ways, either by right clicking or by clicking on this and, navigating to library. Then I'm going to also, my I is going to be green 900. Yes. Then my medium, I'm going to use gray 500. Then my low, I'm going to use gray 400. Okay, so also one thing you can do here is you can always come here to update, right? I can decide to say, okay, I want to use gray 600, right? So you can always come here to update. So in case you want to change the initial value of this gray 600, you just go to your primitive and then you change it from here. Do you see? But in the token collection, you reference the variables you've already created in the primitive collection. So I just wanted us, to be aware and clear on that. So now, the next thing I want to do now is, since I've created, my tokens, as regard this card design, I want to highlight all these things, all the 5 colors I've created, group them, and name them color. So these are my color, variable under my token. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to create spacing. So I come to number, then I start to update also spacing. So here I'm going to be using another naming convention. So spacing none. So you duplicate also. So I'm going to change this to spacing starting from XXS, extra small, to extra small, to small, to medium. Okay, we need to duplicate more. Okay, medium, then large, extra large, extra large, then let's stop here, extra large. Okay, so now what we also want to do is we want to link this, create an alias, reference it to the variable, to the spacing system variable that we've created in our primitive. So you just click on this variable icon here, then you can link it. So I'm going to be linking spacing none to spacing 0. Spacing, I just keep going that way. So you can create more, like I said. So let me try to create more. Okay, this would have 4x, this will have 5x. So you can see another thing you can do here when you are referencing aliases. You can reference you know the same alias, right? You can reference the same variable to multiple variables under your token. You can see this has 888, right? So you know that's the beauty of using variables. Now we've successfully created our spacing system. So now we also want to like group everything together. You already know how to do this. I will name this spacing. Okay, so another thing I also want us to do is this is only for spacing. That is the space between this, right? The space you use between this, which is 16, the space you use between this text, the space we use between this, and all of that. So there's one more thing we also need to create variable for, number variable, is the corner radius. You can see we also used um, a value for a corner radius, and you can see beside it that you can also use variable for it. But instead of applying this spacing to the corner radius, you can actually create a corner radius value, and I'm going to tell us why we need to create that specially, right? So let's also do that. Okay, so you come here, you click on number, then we can call this corner corner radius, or you can just call it radius, right? Corner radius. Also none, then we do the same. All right, so also we are going to be referencing it to the spacing system we created in our primitive. So 0. So you need to be careful not to reference your token, right, in your token collection. Please, you need to be careful. Okay, so make sure it's under primitive. All right, so another thing, you need to group everything together, group them, then, and I can call this corner radius. All right, so now we've successfully created our we successfully learn how to create variables, right? So the other part of this video is managing. So managing is just basically let's say for example, like I said, you are going to be using this the token, right? The variables in the token in applying into your design. So let's say for example, there's a change where you need to change the color you want to use for the text medium. You just need to come here and just select the one you want, and automatically it's going to change across everywhere you've used it in your design. Do you get? So this is how to manage. And also, if let's say this gray color, you want to change the color itself, the value, then you just go to your primitive, and then you go to the color, then you can change the value you want, right? It's that simple, and it's going to change across everywhere you've used it. So it's that simple. So thank you guys for following along. Then we are going to see in the third part. See you guys soon.